the true desires that we have are always going to take more effort, more work, a stronger desire and time to get to them. And the more we're distracted by these superficial, the further we are from achieving what we truly want. The mystery of sex transmutation. I think that title alone brings so many things into our mind. I want to start out with the idea of what do we do for sex? Now, if you've ever been in high school or watched a sitcom on TV, you hear all of these things that we do. But to put it into a simpler format here, we plan a fancy dinner, we buy flowers, we buy a Ferrari or get a fancy house. All of these things we do to help us achieve a desire that we have. In this case, a desire of sex. Now, why is that something that's so important? Well, first law of advertising, if you've heard that before, is sex sells. But why does sex sell? It's because, I'm going to broaden this term, sex involves a lot of things. It's not just what we typically think of sex from a sitcom or a high school. But if we broaden that, it brings in the idea of acceptance. Of course, there is a physical pleasure. Even broadening that more, and more importantly, it brings in the idea of family and posterity, perpetuating the species, that innate idea that's within us. So when we say sex, I want to enlarge that to mean all of the things that go along emotionally, spiritually, physically with that. And it's probably the strongest desire we have as a species once we go beyond air, food, and water and shelter, because it encompasses so much of what we need in our life and what we want. So as we look at those desires that we have, I want you to think about what it is that we really actually are wanting with that. What is the true goal that we have? Now, transmutation means to take one thing and transfer it, change it to become something else. So when we look at these desires, if we want to change one desire that we have and turn it into a different desire, that sounds difficult. But as we delve into it a little bit more, we realize that we're not so much changing one desire into a different desire. We're not changing a desire to eat a cake and turning that into a desire to be the first person to climb a huge mountain. We're changing a desire from one to a similar, or actually to a more true desire, to something that's not the superficial, but something that has the true meaning behind it. Now, one of the easiest ways we look at this is the idea of losing weight. We have a desire to eat a donut, and we have a desire to lose weight. But which is the true desire within ourselves? Both of those things are something that's going to bring some happiness to our life. The pleasure of eating a donut, or the good feeling we have of being healthy. But that true desire within us is for that good feeling of healthy. It's that permanent desire. It's that one that's going to go to our core. As we keep in mind that superficial versus the true desires. That's what helps us to transmutate them. If we're out just seeking physical pleasure, and we realize that we're seeking physical pleasure because we're lacking an inner happiness in ourselves, we can take the energy that we would put into the physical pleasure and turn that instead into seeking to fulfill those true desires we have in our mind, in our heart. And it's a challenge to do that because we're distracted by squirrels, by shiny objects, by the donut versus the weight loss. And Napoleon Hill talks about this, and he says that quite often people don't achieve a real success until after age 40, because in their earlier years, they focus on those shiny objects, on an overindulgence in the superficial, rather than searching for the true deep meaning that we actually want in our lives. Because face it, it's a lot easier to get some pleasure out of eating a donut than it is out of losing 20 pounds. One is more lasting, but one is a lot simpler to get. So as we transmutate, we change those desires for the superficial, the shiny objects into the permanent. That's going to bring us that real happiness that we're looking for. And the first step in doing that is to understand what is the real desire that we have. What are we truly looking for? What is that need that we're trying to fulfill? Now, I think about that with a dinner. If I'm going to go out for dinner with a significant other, there's a lot of things that dinner can mean. I can be looking for sustenance so that I don't die of starvation. I can be looking to fulfill a desire for a good taste, a food that I enjoy, physically enjoy the pleasure of. Maybe it's the company that I'm looking for, just to share time with this significant other in that setting. Maybe it's the atmosphere of the restaurant that I'm craving to feel that luxury or that familiarity around me, just the atmosphere of it. Could be what desire brings me there. Maybe it's the whole experience of being with a certain person in a certain place with a certain food and all that wrapping together. But if I don't understand what I'm truly desiring, it's difficult to fulfill that. Now, my wife and I, for years, have had a tradition of going out to a birthday dinner for each other's birthdays to celebrate. And for many years, my wife really wanted to go out to a fancy restaurant, to take me out to a fancy restaurant for my dinner, where I really wanted to go out to a casual, greasy spoon type place that I enjoyed the food for my birthday. As I looked into that more and experienced that, at first I became kind of dissatisfied going to the nicer restaurant. But then I started to think, what am I really desiring for a birthday dinner? And it was that experience of being with my wife, enjoying the happiness, seeing her happy, me being happy, and realizing that desire I truly had was not for a chili cheeseburger, but it was to enjoy that time with her and that experience. And I was able to take my desire for a chili cheeseburger or a hot dog and transmute that over to that desire to spend time with my wife and enjoy that company and make that a special day. Because I could get a chili cheeseburger anytime that she's not around because she doesn't want me to have those. But other than that, I can have it anytime. But I can only experience that true fulfillment of spending time with my wife and celebrating when I went to this different type of a setting. So understanding what we superficially want, overindulgence in the imitation of our desire, or seeking the true desire that we have, understanding the root of what we're looking for. And I keep coming back to the idea of superficial versus root, because I think there's a copy of any real desire that's simpler. And sometimes we go back to the idea of sex. We all desire love, but there's a copy of superficialness. All you have to do is turn on a TV to see how prevalent that is in our society, to seek out the copy as opposed to the genuine. There's more fast food restaurants than there are healthy restaurants. When we're seeking to achieve sustenance, to help our body propel it so we can achieve the goals we have, it's easier to run through McDonald's and get something fast than it is to create a good, healthy meal. The true desires that we have are always going to take more effort, more work, a stronger desire and time to get to them. And the more we're distracted by these superficial, the further we are from achieving what we truly want. So the bottom line of this really is that we need to go back to our desires. And that's the first step in Napoleon Hill. What do we desire? And this chapter lets us go back and look at what do we really, really desire. If you desire to lose 10 pounds, is it because somebody said it was a good goal, or because you're afraid that if you don't get into that weight, your health is going to be bad and you may not live as long? Then the true desire is to live longer. Or it may be to have more energy to be with friends or family. losing weight generally isn't the desire. It's what you can accomplish once you have that. So finding out your real true desire and then learning to keep that at the top of your mind so you're not so distracted by those squirrels and shiny objects. One of the best ways I heard about this is the story of a man who really wanted to buy a sailboat. That was his dream in life, was to have this sailboat. So he went through magazines and found his dream sailboat, cut out that picture, and he put it in his wallet. So every time he took out his wallet to buy something, he would see that picture of the sailboat. And he would ask himself, do I want this sailboat, or do I want this candy bar or a pair of shoes or new TV or whatever it is he was going to buy? And he could then say, is it the shiny object distracting me, or is it my true desire that's there? And that would help him to transmutate again, to change that desire for the superficial into the true desire that he had, to keep that top of mind, that real desire top of mind with him. So once we know our real why, our real desire, and our real why we want that desire, what it's going to give for us, and then teach ourselves to keep that at the top of our mind, whether it's posting a picture of it, making a vision board, whether it's writing it down every day, whether it's affirmations that we say. Each of these are different for each of us, and can all be wonderful tools with that. But whatever it takes to keep your true desire top of mind, you'll find that it's much easier to change that energy that we spend in seeking after the superficial and put it into something real and enjoyable. I'm going to kind of close with that idea, just that understand what your real desire is. Take time to find that desire, that why. Why do you want that desire that you have? What is it going to bring to you that's truly fulfilling to you? And that's different for everyone. And then keep that top of mind. And by keeping it top of mind, that's going to allow us to put those energies in the direction that we want them, that bring us full happiness, rather than focusing on that overindulgence of the superficial and yet never actually achieving what we truly want.